Hi, I'm doing a little cleanup here, and the Galatians studies I've been doing are not getting as many hits, and that's fine because it's more involved. But actually, some of the best food is in there. So I just wanted to share this little clip from part of it last night because I hit on this thing about the spirit of sonship in us from Galatians 4:6 and cross reference it in a couple places, and God showed me some things that I had not really considered before. And as I meditated on them today, they were a real blessing to me. And since I know a lot of people aren't getting into the Galatians one, and maybe this is a plug for that, but this is a little highlight from that one last night. I think this is a good point of it. Okay, so because you are sons, God sent forth the Spirit of His Son into your hearts. This is the blessing of the gospel. Crying, Abba, Father. Now, this has a sister verse. If you think about it, you probably know it's Romans 8. Romans 8:15. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again, bringing you to fear. Now, that spirit of bondage is the same as the spirit of servanthood. And remember, we were the heirs, but we were no different than servants until the time appointed by the Father. Now we've received the spirit of adoption, or sonship is a better word, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. Now look at this. There's two sides to this verse. There's Galatians 4:6, which says, because we are sons, he has sent the spirit of the Son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father. And in this verse, it says, we've received the spirit of sonship, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. So on the one hand, it is the Spirit of the Son, and He is crying, Abba, Father. But then it's for us the Spirit of sonship, where we cry, Abba, Father. And we used to call that the mingled cry. It's two cries. He calls out Abba, Father in us, and we call out Abba, Father in Him. And who is the one calling? Well, both of us. When you call on the Father, the Lord is calling on the Father. And when the Lord calls on the Father, you are calling on the Father. So it's really interesting. We can initiate Him and He can initiate us because we are one spirit. We're joined together in that way. And when you call on Father, it is Christ in you calling on Father. And when He comes in the presence of the Father, He is received on your behalf, and He stands there for you as your representative. And when God sees Christ, He sees you. And when you cry Abba, that intimate cry to the Father is clothed with Christ, and it's in His voice that you speak. I mean, just think about that for a second. When you say Abba, Father, you are speaking in the voice of Christ. Who is He hearing? Well, it is the sound of many waters. Remember in Revelation, that's what it means. When He speaks, it's the sound of many waters because everyone's voice is in His voice. Because we're one with Him in a way that we can't even understand. And when we're speaking in the Spirit, we exercise our spirit. You got to realize that spirit is joined to the Lord Himself. When you discern your spirit, you're discerning the very presence of Christ Himself. When you're speaking truth in life, you're releasing Christ Himself. It's not just me speaking, it's Christ in me speaking. And it's not just Christ speaking, it's me speaking. We're one. And each of us is uniquely expressing Christ in a different way so that the multifaceted wisdom of God expressed in all the unsearchable riches of Christ is on display in this church, which is made up of the many sons of God who have received His Spirit, are one with Him, are clothed with Him, and who speak with His voice and are hidden in Him so that when He speaks, we're speaking, and when we speak, He's speaking. I, I don't even know how to say it better. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's incredible. Now, this also reminds me of Hebrews. Uh, Hebrews 2. Look at this. For it became Him for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, and bringing many sons unto glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings. And by the way, this is why Hebrews is a church book, because this is church truth. For both he that sanctifies and they who are sanctified are all of one, for which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren. So even though we are shameful, he's not ashamed to call us brethren, because why? We're one with him, and he's sanctifying us. And guess what? We are sanctified because we're one with him. Whatever touched the altar in the Old Testament, the altar was covered with blood 7 times, and anything that touched it was most holy. It was sanctified by the altar itself. That's Christ, and we're one with him, and when we touch him, we are most holy. We are sanctified. Hebrews 2:12, saying, I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the church will I sing praise to thee. Look at that. So he's saying, I'm one with them. I'm not ashamed of them. They're my brethren, and I will declare the name of the Father unto my brethren. Well, isn't that what he's doing with the spirit of sonship? He sent his spirit into our heart, crying, Abba, Father. And then it says, in the midst of the church, I will sing praise to thee. So when he's singing to God, it's through the church. He worships God through us. You think you're just worshiping the Father. No, your worship is going up in the voice of the Lord. He is singing praise unto the Father in your singing. When you sing in the Spirit, it's the Lord singing in your spirit. And when you sing, it's his voice that the Father hears. His multifarious voice, his multiplied voice, his voice that is the sound of many waters, which is the life-giving spirit flowing out of that throne, reaching you, and then streaming back to God in many voices. But it's really all Christ. Then he says again, I will put my trust in him. So, in Galatians 3, it says, I live by faith of the Son of God. That's not an accident. It really is his faith. He's the one exercising faith for us. Your faith is weak. Your faith, you'd fall away. It's his faith. He's living in us towards God as our representative, and we're one with him, partaking of all the benefits. That's the blessing of the Spirit. And again, I will put my trust in him, and again, behold, I and the children which God has given me. So here is his showing the Father, look at these treasures that I've brought to you, through which I sing to you, through which I cry out to you, and I declare my name. I declare your name, Father, to them. So he's revealing the Father's heart to us by showing us, by the Spirit, the Father's love for the Son, and then saying, all that love that the Father has for me, that's for you because you're in me. So it's beautiful. Everything that Christ is now transferred to us and reckoned to us in such a positive way that you can't even imagine it. You just cannot imagine how God loves you as a member of Christ. Never apart from Christ. We've reckoned ourselves dead. We don't exist apart from him, and it's fine. He is the treasure, and we are God's inheritance because of Christ in us.